The church went quiet before anyone understood why. Not the quiet of a prayer. Not the quiet of a pastor asking for reverence. She walked through the doors of Redeemed Church Gagata Parish on a Saturday morning in August in a white wedding gown. Full gown. Veil on her head. Lace from neck to floor. This specific white of a woman who had chosen deliberately. Not cream. Not white. The kind of white that says, I know exactly what I am doing. Her name was Mama Tunde. Everyone in that church knew her name. Most of them had eaten her jollof rice at one point or another, had greeted her after Sunday service, had said good afternoon, Ma, and meant it. She was 54 years old, and she was walking down the aisle of her son's wedding in a wedding gown that was not hers to wear. The organist stopped playing. The flower girl standing at the front turned around and stared. The pastor lowered his Bible 3 inches, and Tunde, the groom, the son, the man whose day this was, Tunde, saw his mother from the altar, and his face did something that had no name in any language. Let me take you back to where this started. Because it did not start in a church, it started in a compound in Surila in 2018. Mama Tunde's full name was Folosha Adeyemi. She had been called Mama Tunde since 1991 when Tunde was born. And the compound decided, as compounds do, that her identity was now attached to her firstborn whether she liked it or not. She was a caterer. She had built her business from the bottom, from the days of cooking for office parties out of her kitchen with 2 gas burners, and a prayer to the days of a proper commercial kitchen in Surulere with 4 staff and a van with her name on the side. Folosate Catering Services. Established 1998. 20 years of cooking other people's celebrations. She was good at it in the way that people are good at things they genuinely love. Not mechanically, but with the specific attention of someone who understands that food is never just food. It is always also love made edible. She was a widow. Tunde's father, Baba Tunde Adeyemi, had died in 2009 from a stroke that arrived without announcement on a Wednesday afternoon while he was watching NTA News. He was there at 2. He was gone by 3. Folosha had spent 2 years after that, putting herself back together the way you put yourself back together after something sudden, carefully, in private, without letting anyone see the pieces on the floor. She had Tunde. Tunde was the reason the pieces got picked up at all. Tunde Adeyemi was 27 in 2018. He worked in IT at a bank on Lagos Island. He was his father's son. Quiet, methodical, the kind of man who thought before he spoke and meant what he said when he finally said it. He had 2 close friends. Biodan, his friend from secondary school. Igbobi College, the friendship of shared suffering through WAEC preparation and senior prefect politics, and the specific bond of boys who become men in the same place. And Chidi, his friend from university. Unilag, the friendship of chosen company, of people who find each other in a large place and decide this one. These 3, Tunde, Biodan, Chidi, were the kind of friends that Lagos produces when it is being generous. They ate together. They argued about football with the seriousness of international diplomats. They attended each other's family events. Biodan had been to Folosha's kitchen so many times he knew where the plates were kept. She cooked for him. She called him my other son. She meant it. That was the problem. She meant things she should not have meant. It started the way these things start, not with a decision, with a gradual series of smaller things that each felt innocent and together were not. Biodan had been coming around more frequently in 2017. He had broken up with a girlfriend. He was lonely in the specific Lagos way of a man who is 30 and has his own apartment and nobody to come home to. He came to Folosha's house for dinner on Tuesdays. Tunde worked late on Tuesdays. Folosha cooked. Biodan ate. They talked. She was lonely too. 9 years since 9 years of her own company in the evenings. 9 years of cooking for other people's joy and coming home to a quiet house. She was not looking for anything. She told herself this. She was not looking, but she was present. and Bioden was present, and Tuesday evenings became the thing. Both of them were quietly organizing the rest of their week around. When it happened quietly. No drama, no declaration. Just two people who had been sitting close to something for too long. Tund found out from Chidi, not from his mother, not from Bioden. From Chidi, who had seen something he should not have seen and had carried it for 3 weeks before the weight became too heavy. He came to Tund's office on a Thursday afternoon. Sat that, he said. Tund, I have to tell you something and I need you to hear it all the way through before you react. Tund looked at him. He said, say it. Chidi said it. Tund sat behind his desk on the 14th floor of a bank on Lagos Island, and he heard his best friend tell him about his mother and his other best friend. He did not react dramatically. This was not because it did not hurt. It was because the hurt was so large it temporarily removed the capacity for reaction. He sat very still. He said, how long? Chidi said, I don't know exactly. Maybe 6 months. Maybe more. Tund said, okay. He said, thank you for telling me. He said, I need you to leave my office now, because I need to sit alone. Chidi left. Tund sat alone for 2 hours. Then he drove to Surila. The conversation with his mother happened in the kitchen. She was cooking when he came in. She looked at his face, and she put down the spoon. He said, Biodim, 1 word. Just the name. She closed her eyes. She did not deny it. She did not perform surprise. She did not ask how he found out, or who told him. She just closed her eyes, the way a person closes their eyes when something they knew was coming has finally arrived. She said, Tande. He said, don't. She said, please let me. He said, Mama, don't. He stood in the kitchen of the house he had grown up in and he looked at his mother and he felt something he could not name, not just anger, something older than anger. The specific grief of a child who has just discovered that a parent is also a person. A full, complicated, capable, terrible things, person. And the childhood version of that parent is gone forever and cannot be recovered. He said, I am not coming back to this house. Not yet. I don't know when, but not yet, she said. Tund, please. He left. He did not speak to Bioden again. Not 1 word. Not a message. Not a call. Not an acknowledgement at the one mutual event they both attended 6 months later, where they stood on opposite sides of a room and everyone noticed and nobody asked. The friendship was over. The kind of over that does not negotiate. He did not speak to his mother for 5 years. She called. He did not answer. She sent messages, long ones, short ones, ones on his birthday, ones at Christmas, ones that were just his name followed by a question mark because sometimes that is all a mother has left. He read them. He did not respond. He met Ngozi in 2019. She was from Enugu. She worked in finance. She had her father's laugh and her mother's directness, and she was the first person since 2018 who made Tund feel that the future had something in it worth organizing himself around. He told her about his mother on their 4th date. Not everything. The outline. She listened. She did not offer advice. She did not tell him what he should do. She said, that must have been a very lonely 5 years. He said, it was. She said, are you ready to not be lonely anymore? He said, I think so. She said, then let's start there. They started there. He proposed in December 2022. And Josie said yes, before he finished the question, the specific yes of a woman who has already known her answer for a long time and has been waiting for the question to catch up. The wedding was set for August 2023. He did not tell his mother. He told himself it was because they had not spoken in 5 years, and the silence was too established to break with a wedding invitation. He told himself this. He also knew that telling her would require a conversation he was not ready to have. He chose the silence. He told himself it was temporary. Mama Falishad found out from the compound, specifically from Mama Hayes, in flat 4B, who had a daughter who worked near Ngozi's office, who had seen the engagement announcement on Instagram. Lagos is large. its network is small. Mamais came to Folklore on a Tuesday evening with the specific expression of a neighbor who is delivering information that is painful and cannot pretend it is not also slightly interesting. She said, "Have you heard about Tanze's wedding?" Falasid said, "What wedding?" Mamare showed her the Instagram post. Tandan Ngozi. Smiling. The ring visible. August 12th. Venue. The Oriental Hotel. Victoria Island. Folklore held Mama Ez's phone for a long time. Then she handed it back. She said, "Thank you for telling me." She went inside. She sat in the kitchen. The same kitchen. And she looked at the wall where a photograph of Tand at his NYSC passing out parade still hung next to a photograph of her wedding to Pa Ademi in 1988. She sat in the kitchen for a long time. Then something in her chest that had been building for 5 years, guilt and grief and loneliness, and the specific madness of a mother who has broken something she cannot fix, and has been watching it stay broken from a distance for 5 years. That something made a decision. She would go, and she would be seen. She would not slip in quietly to the back of the church and watch her son get married from a distance. She would be seen. If she could not be acknowledged, then she would make acknowledgement impossible to avoid. She would wear a gown. She would walk in the way a mother was supposed to walk, invisible. Present. There. Even if the visibility was wrong. Even if the presence was chaos. Even if there was a place she had not been invited to. At least she would be there. At least her son would have to look at her. At least she told herself this was about love. She bought the gown. The church did not recover quickly from the silence. Then it erupted. 200 people found their voices simultaneously. The specific roar of a Nigerian congregation encountering something it has no category for. Aunties stood up. Uncles craned necks. The flower girls started crying, not from understanding but from the contagion of adult alarm. The pastor said, into the microphone, very firmly, "Let us have order." The grand hall was buzzing with joy, sunlight streaming through stained glass windows, casting a warm glow on my bride, Sarah. It was the happiest day of my life. I stood at the altar, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nerves. My father, beaming, stood by my side, a silent pillar of support, as he has always be. The guests were a sea of smiling faces, all our loved ones gathered to witness our union. Everything was perfect, or so I thought. Just as the officiant began to speak, the heavy oak doors at the back of the hall creaked open. A woman stood silhouetted against the bright light, her figure frail but her presence overwhelming. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. My heart stopped. It was her. My mother, a woman I hadn't seen or spoken to in 15 years. She looked so different. The years had carved deep lines onto her face, and her hair was more silver than I remembered. She clutched a worn handbag to her chest like a shield. My father's hand tightened on my shoulder, a mixture of anger and shock on his face. Whispers erupted among the guests. "Who is that? Is that?" The festive atmosphere evaporated, replaced by a thick, uncomfortable tension. My mind raced back 15 years. The shouting matches, the slammed doors, the final, bitter argument that ended with her walking out, leaving behind a shattered 10-year-old boy and a broken husband. My father had raised me alone, pouring all his love and energy into being both a mother and a father. He never spoke ill of her, but her absence was a wound that never truly healed. She took a hesitant step forward, her eyes locked on mine. They were filled with a storm of emotions I couldn't begin to decipher: regret, fear, and a desperate plea. I felt a surge of anger, hot and sharp. How dare she? How dare she show up now, on this day of all days, and turn my joy into a spectacle? I wanted to scream, to tell her to leave, to tell her she had no right to be here. But then I looked at Sarah. Her face was a mask of concern, her hand gently finding mine. She gave it a reassuring squeeze, her eyes telling me, "It's okay. Whatever you do, I'm with you." Her strength grounded me. I took a deep breath, the anger slowly giving way to a raw, aching curiosity. Why now? After all these years, why today? I signaled for the efficient to pause and walked down the aisle. The rustle of my suit, the only sound in the now silent hall. I stopped a few feet from her. "What are you doing here?" My voice was colder than I intended. Tears welled in her eyes, spilling down her cheeks. "I know I have no right," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I know I don't deserve to be here, but I couldn't miss this. I had to see my son get married. I had to see how happy you are." She fumbled with her handbag and pulled out a small, slightly tattered teddy bear. My teddy bear. The one I'd cried over 4 weeks after she left. "I've kept him all these years," she said, her voice cracking, "to remind me of what I lost, of the biggest mistake of my life. There hasn't been a day I haven't regretted leaving." Seeing that bear, a relic of my childhood, a symbol of my heartbreak, something inside me broke. The wall of anger I had so carefully constructed for 15 years began to crumble. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. It was something more complicated. It was the recognition of a shared pain. My father walked up and stood beside me, his expression softened. He looked at her, not with anger, but with a deep, weary sadness. The past can't be erased, and wounds that deep don't heal overnight. But in that moment, standing between my bride and my past, with my father by my side, I knew this wasn't an interruption. It was a beginning, a difficult, messy, and uncertain beginning to a long overdue conversation. I took the bear from her hand. "The ceremony is about to continue," I said, my voice steadier now. "There's an empty seat in the back row." It was all I could offer, but it was more than I thought possible just minutes before. A flicker of hope ignited in her eyes. It was a start, and sometimes, a start is all you need.